Okay, here I am. I've reloaded my platform test level that I made, and I want to turn this into an elevator instead of just a platform. An elevator can stop on multiple floors, or you can have a button to control it to go up and down, call it back to the floor, and so forth. But what I can't do is I can't work with the pre-existing entity, this function plat. I have to work with a function elevator in this case, and I can't turn this into I can't just turn one entity into another entity because some errors can pop up. So I need to start with something fresh. I gotta select the platform and I'm gonna delete it. And then I'm gonna save this under a new name so that I don't ruin the map I already have. I'm gonna save it as a ELEV, a pre-existing map that I have in there that I don't need anymore. Now I'm going to add the function elevator. I'm gonna right-click the area, go to function elevator. There we go. Right now it's just a block because we haven't defined what it's going to look like. And I'm going to open up the entity editor, hit N, and tab is right down there. I'm going to select the model that we're going to be using. I can do that by clicking this button. I could type the item in directly right into the key and the value, or I can do it visually through the model selection button right here. In many cases this is just easier than trying to remember the full path of the model that I'm looking for. So I want to open up the base, I want to go to Models, I want to go to Map Objects, and right in Map Objects should be an elevator. Here we go, Elevators. And in here I'm going to use just the elevator. Now I could use this right down here to view, but if you can see that whenever I try and move the view around, it's really staggering, and it's a bad preview button, so it really doesn't help very much. Okay, now I've entered in the model that I'm going to be using. I could continue entering the keys, but what I want to do is I want to get a better idea of what I'm working with. So I'm going to save what I have, and then I'm going to reload this map so that the model will display instead of that little block. So if I load elevator, there you go. Now it loaded the elevator, and I have a better idea of what I'm working with. The only problem I have here is the platform level I had didn't need to be as large as this elevator area. You can see the height is way off too. So I'm going to now is a good time to pause this tutorial and go ahead and resize everything, and I'm going to do that to save some recording time here. So I'll be right back. Okay, here I am back after having stretched out the level. You see I've made everything much taller. The elevator now fits properly. I brought this out, brought the back of the elevator shaft out. I cut out a little spot on the bottoms, spot on the top, so everything fits very nicely. Move the lights around. Now we're all set to work. I also made sure I saved it again. Now we have our elevator. Let's add some key elements to the elevator here. I'm going to drag this up. Alright, we already specified the model that we are using. Let's specify how the elevator moves. Now the elevator is going to have the amount of time it moves from one point to the other, the amount of speed it has, the velocity. I'm going to set the move time. Move time is a key. I'm going to set it to 3 seconds. I'm going to say it takes 3 seconds to move from one level to the other. Now I can also set the amount of time it takes to get up to that speed. When it leaves, it doesn't just suddenly take off at that speed. It'll build up to that speed slowly. How slow? Well, that's what I'm going to define. I'm going to say it takes 1 second to build up to that speed. Sort of like an ease in, ease out type of thing. Okay, and I'm going to set the decel time, also the amount of time it takes to decelerate. Let's make sure those are setting properly. Yes, they are. Now I want to go in and I want to set the skin. What does this elevator look like? Right now it's just a basic model. I haven't told it what skin to use, just like a player skin. I can go in and I can select the skin. I can select it from here, but I warn you, using this button will cause a huge delay in the amount of time it takes for this to load up. What I've done was I've went ahead and preloaded and I wrote down what skin that I would like to use in this case, and you can go ahead and use it too. I'm going to type in a key of skin, S-K-I-N, and the value I'm going to use is skins, S-K-I-N-S / elevator green. So that's E-L-E-V-A-T-O-R underscore green. And that's your basic green elevator. I'm going to need to name my elevator so that I can trigger it with my call button, so that when I'm on floor 2 and the elevator's on floor 1, I can call it. So I want to give it a name. Let's call this elevator 1. There we go. And now I can set the floor positions. In this case, I only have 2 floors. Since I'm already on floor 2, let's set floor position 2. So in the key, I'm going to type in FLOOR, POS for floor pos, floor position, underscore, floor position 2. And I'm going to set this to my point of origin. And in this case, well, let's make sure my point of origin is correct. If you remember before I showed you, if you drag this animation slider, it'll reset it. So yes, my point of origin is correct to where it is right now. So I can type that in, 0.192.168. And then I want to do my floor position 1. So I'm going to make sure nothing else is accidentally selected. Drag it down to floor position 2. Drag my slider. And that is 0.1920. And then I'm going to move my elevator back up again to where it was, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it on floor 2 to begin with, so that when the map loads, the elevator automatically drags down. And a nice effect lets me know that the elevator is working ahead of time. And let's fix our origin. There we go. And while we're in here, let's delete that frame 0, which I don't know if it'll cause any harm, but we don't need it in there. Now there's a couple other settings that we can do, but I'm going to come back to those settings in a minute. Skip what we've done already, and I'm going to save. Okay. Now I'm going to add some controls. I'm going to add the control that calls the elevator to the different floors. So what I need to do is, to do that, I'm going to add a function static brush. So I just need a basic brush. There we go. Just something to work with here. Relatively correctly positioned. There we go. And I'm going to turn that into a function static. Okay, now let's give it a model of some sort. We want to give it like one of those techie push button things. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select the model. And in this case, the model that I want to work with is a GUI object, not an elevator. You're going to find that using models is very important in Doom 3, as opposed to we used to build everything beforehand. So here's our GUI objects. We're going to go to, let's use TechDR Panel 1, LWO. By the way, that LWO stands for Light Wave Object, which means it's an actual model from Lightwave, the modeling program. That's a good one to use. We can't see it right now, but we'll worry about reloading the map later and getting that model into position. Before I do that, I can name a couple things here. We need to set the GUI, the interface that the player sees, the GUI. So I can also do that from a quick shortcut button over here. What I'm looking for here is under Doors, Elevator Call. So I'm going to go under GUIs. I'm going to look for Doors and Elevator Call. See a bunch of elevator pieces in here. And there's a good one. Yep, that's what I want. I want it to look something like that. Click OK. And let's tell it where to go. I'm going to give it a target. I'm going to target the elevator, and which I called it Elevator 1. And bang, there's our blue line going from origin to origin. That tells us I targeted it correctly. And now we can set the parameters, the params. I'm going to show you a little trick here that I've learned. I'm going to save before I ruin anything. To look up how to set these params correctly according to the way the GUI was created. I'm going to open up my Windows Explorer. Then I'm going to open up this pack000.pk4 file using WinZip, because these are really just zipped files renamed for pack4. And I sorted by the type, so I can scroll down to my GUIs. There's my GUI files. And I'm going to look for the GUI interface that I just used. I'm going to look for GUIs, Doors, Elevator Call. So look for Elevator Call first. Here it is. Now it's one of these three, and I look over what folder it's in. GUIs, Doors. Let's make sure I've got the right one. Yes, I do. And I am going to view it with Internal Viewer, or Notepad. It doesn't matter. This is really just a Notepad thing. Now you see here in the comments, it'll give us information about the different parameters. the smart authors of these GUIs put comments in them. Some of them won't have comments and it'll make it harder to use. Now, what we're looking at, we want to set our parameters for this button. So our parameter 1, if we enter 2, the parameter 1 will say top floor. If we enter 1, parameter 1 will say bottom floor. This will make more sense what these parameters are inside the game. Now, if I go over to Parm 2, we'll see that the GUI interface is actually going to read level 1 to level 2 and tell you where the elevator is. Or if we enter 2, it'll be level 2 to level 3. We don't have 3 levels. We're working with level 1 to level 2, so you'll see this is maybe why you want to create your own GUI, but that's a whole other tutorial. Alright, Parm 3. Parm 3 is the name of our top floor. Parm 4 is the name of our bottom floor. And Parm 5 sets what malfunction error is displayed. We don't want any malfunction error, and if you scroll over here to the end, you'll see Parm 5 equals 0 means unset the error. We won't have any error. Usually that's also a default setting, so we could even leave it blank. Okay, I showed you that. So that'll perhaps help you experiment with different GUIs of your own. Now let's enter in those parameters. Okay, we're going to enter in a GUI underscore parm1. We're going to set that to a 1. We're going to set that to, since we're on the second floor, I'm going to set it to 2, which is we're on the top floor. Okay, Parm 2. Parm 2 is what it's going to display. In this case, this is going to display level 1 to level 2. We'll just do it. We can experiment with that later on. All these GUI parms are tough to play with because you're not exactly sure what's going to happen. You just assume that that's what it is. Okay, Parm 3 is the name of our top floor. We're just going to call it top floor. Okay, Parm 4 is the name of our bottom floor, so let's just call that bottom floor. And Parm 5, we said is the error status. We don't want to play with that. We'll just set it to 0. There we go. Let's make sure all these settings took place. Alright, that's reasonable. Now we're going to need one on the other floor. And you know what? I may have made some mistakes here because I thought I was on the second floor. Parm 1, we are going to set to floor 1. And then on the next floor, we'll set it to floor 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and put it up there by hitting the space bar. Let's make sure we're map editor. We'll copy it up. And you can see it's already taken the shape, whenever I copied it, of our interface, of our model that we specified. Whenever I copied it, it resets the target on me. So I'm going to have to set that back to elevator 1. There's our blue line that shot across, letting me know that I did set it correctly. And I'm going to change that Parm 1 again back to 2 for floor 2. There's our call buttons. Okay, now we've done some GUI playing. I'm going to deselect everything and I'm going to save what I have so far. I'm going to play with the GUIs that are inside the elevator. Let me show you inside the elevator first. Here's our interface that says elevator, move to this floor, move to that floor. But you'll also notice one at the top here that says you're on floor 1, you're on floor 2, whatever. So we're going to be able to play with both of those. And those are controlled through the function elevator. So I'm back at the function elevator. I'm going to set those. I'm going to set up those settings. First, I want to define what those interfaces are. I want to define the GUIs. I'm going to define the GUI for the control panel that says move to this floor, move to that floor. So I want to select what that GUI interface is. I click on the GUI button, and I am going to go up to GUIs and okay, here it is. It was actually under elevator. Let's see. It was actually under my GUIs, doors, elevator 2 floor. Okay. So that's what my little interface is going to be looking like. I'm going to click OK. That's what I want to use. That's going to set the GUI, the main GUI, to use that interface. Now I'm going to select the one that shows up over the top of the elevator. And in this case, I can't just click a button because I can't set my GUI 2, which is the key. We're going to set the GUI 2, number 2, to another one. So if you do a little research, you'll find out what one that you want to do. You can play with the viewer. In this case, I'm just going to manually type it in because you don't have to use these buttons down here. You can manually type it. And what I want to use is GUIs, doors, and elevator top .gui. So I'll hit enter to set that, and that'll tell it to use that as our second GUI. Now let's set the parameters. I went ahead and checked out what the parameters are. They were very similar to the buttons that we set up over here. So I'm going to add a parm. I'm going to add a GUI parm 2. And I'm going to set that to 1. That's going to be the display level 1 to level 2, just like the GUI parm 2 on the other one did. There we go. Now I'm going to enter the GUI parm 3, just like the other outside button did. It's going to be the top floor name. I'm going to do top floor, and then I'm going to enter my parm 4, which is my bottom floor name, which is bottom floor. Okay, let's see what we've gotten. We've got our move time, our Excel time, we've got our model selected, we've chosen the skin that we're going to be using, we've decided what GUIs we have going on. We made sure that we named our model, which is elevator 1, and we've also set our floor positions, very important. There's our floor position 1 and our floor position 2. And we've defined our parameters on that. Let's escape. Let's make sure we have our correct parameters on this one, which is we selected our model. Obviously, we see the model in this case. We selected our GUI interface, which is elevator call. We've given it the target of our elevator 1, which we see the blue line over here. We've gone and set our parameters up. And let's make sure that we did it with this one as well down here. Yes, we have our model, our GUI, our target, our parameters. I'm going to save. Just going to make sure that this model displays correctly by reopening the map. There it is, perfect. Alright, let's give it a run and let's see what we have. Let's compile the map, BSP. F2 to bring open the game. Let me drag my game window over. And let's run the map, which is a dev map. It's under game, MP. We're going to load the map, which we called ELEV. Give it a second. There's our elevator moving into position. Beautiful. Alright. Here we go. We're on level 1. Good thing. Now we said it was going to say level 2 to level 1. We see it says top floor, bottom floor. Very good. We've already got the elevator in call. Let's see everything else working. There's our other interface, which says we're on the bottom floor. Very nice. Let's look up top. Let's see if we've got our second GUI. We are on level 1. Yes, we are. Okay. Let's move in, and let's see if the elevator moves. Move to the next floor. Let's see if our GUI interface level 2 showed up. Alright, let's move out and take a look at our button out here. Level 2, very good. It says what level 2 name is, level 1. Now I'm going to see if the button call works. I'm going to use a little developer key here. I'm going to go into no clip. Hit enter. It'll say no clip on. That means I am not being stopped by any walls. And if I crouch, instead of crouching, I'll actually go through the floor. And I'll move forward. I'll click on this button and hopefully the elevator will come down. Beautiful. There's our elevator. So I hope you have fun with that and happy mapping.